So let's sketch y equals negative 3 cos 2x for at least one cycle. Okay, so this is the negative 3 means y's multiplied by negative 3. So let's first of all start off with cosine. Pow. We memorize that cosine, and we could use either degrees or radians, it doesn't matter. So let's just stick with radians. That's the default unit, so between 0 and 2 pi. So normally cosine starts at 1 and it goes to negative 1. So cosine goes down, it goes down, and it goes up, and it goes up. However, when we multiply the y's by negative 3, it becomes 3 times taller and flipped. So between negative 3 all the way to 3, and let's change the color. So we're going to flip it. This is kind of like a quarter circle here, quarter circle down here, and quarter circle here. So we got the definitely the taller graph here. Now this was the original cosine graph. What we really should have done from the get-go is take care of the period. Normally the period for cosine is 2 pi, but really we have a b value here. We should have attacked this right away. We're going to say b equals 2, which means twice as skinny. So we run in a script here, period equals 2 pi divided by the absolute value of b, which is absolute value of 2, is 2. So the period is pi. So pow, the period is no longer 2 pi, it's now pi. So because this diagram is not the scale, we had very little work to do to change this and to respect the fact that we have a skinnier graph here. So this here is correct because we changed the label here when we're now taking care of the b value of 2. So if this is pi, half of pi is going to be pi over 2, and half of that is going to be pi over 4. This is 1 pi over 4, this is 2 times pi over 4, which is pi over 2, and this is 3 times pi over 4, which is 3 pi over 4, and this is 4 times pi over 4, which is pi. So the amplitude is going to be the physical distance from here to here, is the absolute value of the a value, which is 3. And the period we mentioned was already pi. We took care of that. The maximum value would be 3. If you wanted the coordinates of the maximum, it would be pi over 2 comma 3. And if you want the minimum, you could say 0 comma negative 3, or you could even say pi comma negative 3. And this here is one full cycle. If you really wanted, you could have another cycle and repeat the whole thing over again, but we're going to stop. And the domain here for one cycle would be between 0 and pi, but we know the truth that this graph continues on forever in the positive and negative direction, and the range would be between negative 3 and 3. So you could say that the range, you could say y is between, including the endpoints, negative 3 and 3. So let's just verify that we have the correct maximum, pi over 2 comma 3 on Desmos. So let's go to our good friend Desmos, and as you can see we have y equals negative 3 cosine 2x. Let's click on this maximum here, and as you can see, indeed it is pi over 2 comma 3, and we have the correct maximum.